Till today, Hitler, Saddam Hussein, and Pol Pot were the worst aristocrats in the history of humanity. It was Nazi concentration camps that are remembered the most across the world. But the unspeakable things in Japanese concentration camps might just change your mind about the concept of cruelty. What do you think are the horrible methods employed in the Japanese concentration camps? How inhumane can a human be? Chapter 1. The Death Railway. During World War II, the Japanese decided to build a railway between Thailand and Burma, which later was known as the Death Railway for a reason. Would you believe it if I said that this railway track holds the burden of thousands of laborers' life? Yes, that's true. The construction of this railway was carried out by prisoners captured by the Japanese in World War II. This one-year-long railway project through dense jungles and rugged terrain of Thailand and Burma bears the pain of thousands of innocent lives used by the Japanese military. These prisoners lost their lives due to harsh working conditions, inadequate food and medical conditions, disease, malnutrition, and exhaustion. The Japanese considered the war prisoners as nothing but an asset. These people did work to death. This is the least the prisoners had to go through. The rest of this video is highly disturbing. Chapter 2. The Black Prince of Concentration Camps. This story of suffering makes us question the boundaries of a human's brutality. A Japanese lieutenant named among the prisoners a Black Prince was the nightmare of the prisoners in concentration camps. Beating people to death was entertainment for him. His atrocities didn't know boundaries. He killed people in a way where death felt better. He fills prisoners' stomachs with gallons of water to jump on their swollen stomachs. How distressing is that? Chapter 3. The Fate of Asian Prisoners. Now, there are a lot of cruel things that happen in times of war. But were you aware that the people who were captured in the Battle of Hong Kong were killed brutally without being given a chance to live further? At the time, the British had allied with the Portuguese and the Chinese, and the Asians rebelled against this. In this battle, the Koreans suffered the worst. The people no longer wished to survive the war, as the situation of the citizens who survived the war was worse as compared to those fighting the war. Innocent individuals were made victims of multiple atrocities. How brutal are the after effects of war? For the smallest of reasons, noses, arms, or even ears were cut off in the name of justice. These prisoners were treated mercilessly with harsh treatment and brutality. One of the worst punishments that were employed was when prisoners were kept in a coffin with a few holes created for ventilation. Once they were placed in the coffin was placed vertically. If this was for reasons of interrogation or intimidation, perhaps it might have made sense. But there was no rhyme or reason to these harsh brutalities. People in power tortured those with none for sadistic pleasure and a deranged show of power. Chapter 4. Japanese and their experiments. The Chinese who were captured by the Japanese were experimented upon. The kind of medical experiments they conducted upon humans was beyond arbitrary. The experiment was meant to test the boundaries of human resistance, as in just how much can a human endure torture. The captured Chinese were the human lab rats for the Japanese, from autopsies conducted without anesthesia to being starved and dehydrated, putting them in extreme conditions like too cold or too hot, and using experimental medicines on them. There was no end to this miserable torture. They would cut up people without the mercy of anesthesia and wouldn't be bothered to stitch them back. Such were the conditions of the humans who were captured in the past. Similar to how people of medicine learn from cadavers, the Japanese learned from alive human beings who were their prisoners. They weren't even considered to be humans by the standards of the Japanese. People were boiled alive. Their body parts, such as their brain, stomach, or liver, were removed for study. People were purposely shot for the doctors to study how to remove a bullet from a human body. Is there anything more despicable than this? Well, yes, there is. People were wounded and infected on purpose by the soldiers to observe their reactions. Disease pathogens like typhoid, syphilis, and anthrax were exposed to these inmates just for the sake of research, to witness how their body reacts and understand it further. Well, there's a lot more that happened, and the list would go on further. Many stories are still untold and unheard of. What are the chances of surviving these heinous actions? And these are the stories of the survivors, and a reminder of the brutality of the past. For more interesting and informative videos, subscribe to our channel.